Howdy, everybody. My name is Daniel. I'm the Chief Technology Officer at UtilityAPI. We are a Green Button Connect service provider, and we helped implement the Green Button Connect for Lakefront Utilities. I just posted this is going to be a participation-friendly workshop where you are encouraged to register and follow along with me and try to experience the process of using a Green Button Connect to download sample data set from a test account during this workshop. So by the end of this demo, the goal is for you to actually have a spreadsheet of data that you can take a look at. And so I'm going to share my screen right now. Oh, it looks like somebody else is sharing. Gary, can you release? As I share my screen, I encourage you all to click the link in the chat, greenbutton.lakefrontutilities.com. And that will take you to this page here. Please let me know if you can see my screen, and I'm going to bring up the Q&A, and I'm also going to bring up the chat. And so feel free to send chat messages of questions as you follow along. So this is the landing page for the Lakefront Utilities Green Button Connect. As Gary mentioned, it is currently an early release. So there's a banner up top that says this is in beta. And so the first step that I'm going to take everybody through, and I encourage you again to open this up yourself and follow along. The first step for Green Button Connect is for whoever is going to get the data. So that can be an energy efficiency company or a solar installer or an EV charging infrastructure company. It can also be companies that are looking to pull their own data in an automated fashion. And so that can be a building management company or energy management firm or energy consulting firm that wants to pull one of their clients' data or even their own data in some sort of an automated fashion. As people get into things like carbon accounting or electric vehicle infrastructure, usually that becomes, you have to increase your energy savviness, as was discussed in the panel. So the first step that I encourage you all to do, and it's okay if you are not what you see as a third party, if you're a student or if you're a government official, you can still follow along and try this out just to see what the process is. I clicked on register as a third party. So the first step is to register as a third party, and this is somebody who's going to be getting data. And then there is an invite code, and we have set up a special invite code for this workshop called Good22. And so you can use that invite code to register. While it's in beta currently, you need an invite code to be able to register. So the registration code is Good22, and then you can type in your name. So I'm just going to do Daniel Roseler, and then I'm going to do workshop user at utilityapi.com. So you can put in your first and last name in your email. You put in your company name, or if you do not have a company, you can just say student or personal. So I'm going to say Acme company, and my website is example.com. And then you can create a password. So I'm just going to create a password. And the next section is called scope of use disclosure. And so this is a recommendation where you as a registrant need to say to the customer when you're requesting data, because you always need to get consent from the customer in order to get access to their data. This is the little blurb that you can put in the authorization request that says how you're going to use the data. And so I'm going to say for testing purposes only. However, you can put, if you are trying to get, say, for an energy audit or for some sort of a bid or quote, you can say whatever it is you have here. And if you have terms of service that you want to include in that scope of use disclosure, you can give it to paste that in as well. The next part of the registration is called the directory. So as part of the Green Button Connect for Lakefront, there is a third-party directory. And so this is a public facing where you can list your company. And so we have an initial kind of test company here to show you can put your logo, and you'll have a profile where you can describe what sort of services you provide. And then when somebody visits your profile, they can actually opt to share data with you directly from the directory. And so this gives a chance for customers to be able to see who is registered and who is actively saying that they use Green Button Connect. So that's pretty handy. And so since this is a test account, once I register, I don't want to automatically list in the directory when the utility approves my registration. So I'm going to uncheck that. But if you're looking to be listed in the directory, you can keep that checked. And then the last part are standard terms and conditions on, you must use this website appropriately, that sort of thing. So that is the registration process for the Green Button Connect. And once you have registered, I want to pause there and see if anybody has any questions about registration. Has everybody managed to get through the registration process? I want to pause there to see if people are having issues getting through registration. Cannot access website. So this is, I'm going to paste the link in chat again to everyone. So this is the website, greenbutton.lakefrontutilities.com. And then you click on register as a third party. Okay. It sounds like some of you are able to get through. So I'm going to continue unless somebody speaks up. Otherwise, we can keep going. Okay. So once you are registered, what happens is a dashboard interface is created for you on the UtilityAPI platform. So this is the dashboard interface that people use across many different utilities to request data. And this is your landing page when you are registered. So I have registered as a user for Lakefront Utilities, and I'm granted this UtilityAPI dashboard. Now, if you notice, there's a disclaimer down here that says that I am in, quote, sandbox mode. And sandbox mode allows you to use this dashboard and use Green Button Connect. However, it only allows you to get access to test account data. So you cannot start using it to request data from real customers. You can just play around with it in the sandbox and you won't be able to get data from real customers. And I'll show that in a bit. But this is where you start out. In order to be able to leave sandbox mode and go into, quote, live mode, you need to be approved. Your registration needs to be reviewed and approved by the utility, in this case, Lakefront. Okay, so this is a process. It's very streamlined to get you into sandbox mode. And then once you're approved, you don't have to change anything. You'll just now, in addition to being able to request data from test accounts, you'll be able to get consent from real customers and get the real data. So the difference between test account data and real data, there is no difference other than it's fake data versus real data. And so your behavior doesn't change between sandbox mode and live mode. And so what I'm going to show is the sandbox mode, but you can imagine using this for a real customer. And the process is exactly the same. Okay. Has everybody been able to get a user account registered and they have their dashboard? It looks like some people are saying yes. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. Okay, so now that we have you're registered as a third party, what you can do is you can click on the request data button. And the request data button is nothing more than a convenience interface. Okay, and all this is it gives you access to your link. And your link is what you can use to ask a customer, hey, click this link, or you can make that link if you have a website. You can make a button, say a green button on your website, and you can put the link and say, hey, click this button to share your data with me. Now, this link is unique to you as a registrant. So this link, if you want somebody to share the data, share their utility data with you, this is what you send them. Okay, so I'm going to copy that link and I'm going to open it in a new tab. So imagine I put this link on my website and a customer clicks on it to share their data with me. So that's the whole idea behind a green button connect, is you can, click the green button and then connect your utility account with, or your utility data with that particular third party. Okay, now imagine I'm a customer and I have actually clicked that link. So can everybody copy their link and open it in a new tab? And you'll see a screen very similar to this. Does everybody, have people managed to find their link and open it in a new tab? Okay. So then first process of authorizing as a customer is what is called authentication or identity verification. And so we basically, some person clicked on the green button on some energy efficiency website or your company website, and you now, like the utility, we are now back on green button lakefrontutilities.com, right? We have no idea who that user is. So we need to verify their identity. And the way that we verify their identity is to ask them for pieces of information from their last utility bill. Okay, so log in using my latest bill is the process. And what we have done here is we ask for the account number, the last bill date, and the last amount due. Okay, and up at the top, you'll notice that there's this sandbox mode disclaimer. Okay, this sandbox mode disclaimer has a link to some test accounts. Okay, so we have created 2 example test accounts that you can use to try out the system. And so we have here a residential customer and a commercial customer with some latest amount due. So I'm going to do the residential customer to start. So I'm going to copy their account number. I'm going to go back. So can everybody find these test last bills from the link at the top of your the sandbox mode? Please speak up or post a message in chat if you're having trouble finding the link to the test accounts.
That last step.
Sorry, say that again.
Just the last step. I've got into the sandbox, just the last step. If you could repeat it, that'd be great.
Gotcha. So when I click log in using your latest bill, up at the top, there's a link to test accounts. If I click that link, it will open a new tab, and I will see that there's a section called Test Last Bills. Okay, and so these are 2 test last bill things that I can use in sandbox mode. And so I'm going to copy the first one, the first account number, and go back to this last bill login and paste in my account number from this table. Okay. And then I can look at so I'm going to split this and go side by side. How about that? That might be easier. So I have my test account bills here, and I have my login here. So this is the verification page. And then I look at my last bill date, and it was on 3/31/2022. Okay, so I'm going to go to 3/31, and I'm going to select that is the date. And then I have $140 as my last bill amount. Okay. Does everybody have the ability to see these last bills and use those to log in?
Yes, I've gotten to the test credentials. I see the test last bills, and I just have to get it into the other login
Right.
using
So let me
Register. That's
pause
good.
there. I'll pause there while everybody kind of copies and pastes stuff in, and please make a message in chat if you run into any issues. Okay, so it seems like everybody is able to get into there. So I've pasted in all the numbers, and then I can click verify latest bill. And that verification, then correctly, if you hit an error, it will show an error and say that doesn't match, try again, that sort of thing. But once you're done, you have now verified your identity and go to the second step of the customer authorization. Okay, so to recap, I have my link. I've put it on a link on my website. So a customer has clicked that link. They've typed in their last bill information. They've hit verify. Now this is the second step for that customer. And the second step for the customer is to authorize the scope of access. And so this is what they are going to share. And there are three major components about what a customer can share with you. The first is what information. So in general, there are about three different categories of information. Account details. So that's things like their service address and the rate plan that they're on, and the meter number and the account numbers, that sort of thing. There's energy usage, which is how many kilowatt hours they use on a either an interval data basis, so like every 15 minutes, or if they don't have a smart meter, then on a monthly basis, just through the meter readings. And then utility bills, which is a cost breakdown of the utility bill information. So how many dollars you got charged for the tier or time of use bucket. Okay, so those are and the customer is able to modify those. So the customer is in control on what data they share with you. And that's the wonderful thing about Green Button, is that the customer is very empowered to control what they share. The second part is how long, what date ranges. So there's both historical data, so you can share 2 years of historical data. You can in fact share much longer if you want to. And then there is ongoing data. And so that's data that a customer, like say you install some sort of energy efficiency update and you want to share that data on a go forward basis, so that that company can kind of see whether or not it's working or not. You can opt to share data in an ongoing. You don't have to. You can say no ongoing data shared. And for historical data, you can say no historical data shared. And so it's really empowering for the customer to be able to choose the appropriate date ranges for sharing the data. And then the last option is selecting which services you want to share. So here, since it's a residential customer, there's a single electric and a single water service. And that allows them to share their data for that. So I'm just going to select share all to keep it simple. And then to go back to the original registration, this is where you're going to show the customer, this is how I'm going to use the data, right? So that customer knows and has a connection for, this is not just some blind sharing into the ether of data where you are just like open-ended, have no idea what you're going to do. That can be frightening for many customers. And so this allows you to communicate with them and tell them how you're gonna use the data, what it's for, and you can change this for different types of customers. You don't have to show the same message to all customers. You can change it in your settings, and you can add different ones in your settings and customize that on a per request basis. So that's really allows you a lot of flexibility as well. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and click authorize. Does anybody have any questions before I click authorize? Please, make a note or say wait in chat to if you have a longer question you'd like to bring up. Okay. I'm going to hit authorize, and that will conclude the authorization part of the customer process. Now, by default, the customer for the Lakefront Utilities implementation is redirected to their receipt. So they are emailed an authorization receipt that has all of the information that they authorized. And by default, they are redirected to that receipt. Now, if you're a company and you want the user to go somewhere else, says they click the green button and you want them to come back to your app or website afterwards, you can change that in your settings. You can say, hey, I want the user to be redirected back to my website, and we'll just email them the receipt and they won't, be redirected here. They'll just be emailed or redirected back to your website. So you'll know that they've completed the authorization process. Okay, and that's that process is more for software developers and app developers, and that process is called OAuth. So I won't really get into that here. We're kind of just doing a little bit of an overview of the point and click version of Green Button Connect. Okay, so that is the authorization process. Now, that's the end of the customer experience. So as a customer, I'm done. I've authorized access. I get my email. If I ever change my mind, I can always go and revoke the authorization. There's a link to that in the receipt email. In addition, Lakefront Utilities has a, quote, My Authorizations interface. And so if I click on My Authorizations on the homepage, I can authenticate again, and I will see the authorizations that I've previously done. Here we've done one for Acme Company. Okay, so that allows the customer to, and they can revoke that authorization at any time from their My Authorizations interface. So it allows, if you have, say, 4 or 5 different authorizations that you've done to various vendors, and you've gotten a quote from them, and you have selected a specific vendor to do some sort of an upgrade, you can revoke the other ones at that time. And so what happens when that happens is the data is cut off. Okay, so that is the authorization process. Have people been able to successfully authorize and get a receipt? Have people been able to end up here? Okay, great. So I'm going to switch back now to the Utility API dashboard. Okay. And the Utility API dashboard. And so I'm going to switch back now and actually view this from the third-party side, so from the company side. And to do that, I can go to the landing page, and it says for third parties, it says, or go to your Utility API dashboard. And so that's where you can see the authorizations that you have received. Okay. And so what we have here is we have a data set that is coming in. And this authorization is for those residential customers. It looks like we are in the process of getting some of the data, but we have some data available as well. Okay, so we have water data going back 2 years. We have 30 days of interval data, and we have 5 months of billing data that is available. And so let's actually take a look at some of that data. I'm going to download a CSV file of the data. Okay, and so this is something that you should be able to do or see on your dashboard. Has everybody seen these authorizations on their dashboard? Can you see the data that's available? Great. So I'm going to on the right, even if something is still running and still processing, you can go ahead and download the data that's already there. So here we have 5 months. I'm going to download the line item bills for that data set. So I'm just going to download that CSV file. So you can open it with any spreadsheet. You can open it in Excel, or if you're on a Mac, you can open it in Sheets. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And so here you see we have 5 bills worth of information, and the others will continue to load in. So you can always go back later and see what new information is going on. Okay. And so what I can do is I see here that I have 5 bills. I see the latest one is through the beginning of March. So that's, I guess, the February bill. And then I look over here and I have, oh, sorry, this is probably really small. Let me zoom in. Let me zoom in. Okay, so we have bill total volume. So how many kilowatt hours we have. And then we start to see a breakdown of costs. So here we have, for example, regulatory costs, delivery costs. We have summer peaks, and then we have winter. So we have winter mid-peak, and we have the total kilowatt hours in the mid-peak, what the rate was, and then the total cost for that. We can see that there is winter mid-peak B as well. And so this is a full breakdown of the billing data that we have for this particular electric service. And so as a company looking to analyze somebody's utility bill to see how much of their usage is in on-peak versus off-peak versus winter versus summer, this is a way that you can just very easily open up this information directly in your interface, or directly in your local spreadsheet, very quickly and easily. Okay, I want to go back and also, so this is the billing information breakdown, and this is the line items. So this is, a very detailed breakdown of all the line items of the utility bill. Okay, now going back to the dashboard, I'm going to download the interval data as a spreadsheet. So there's bills, which is just kind of total kilowatt hours and total bills. There's line items, which is the detailed data that I just showed. And then there's interval data. And when I download the interval data, I'm going to download it to my desktop as well. And I can just open it up in a spreadsheet. Open up, please. And I'm going to zoom in on this one as well. So here, you'll see over on the right, we have interval start, interval end, and then we have the kilowatt hours for that particular interval. So 4:18 in Eastern time zone, from midnight to 1 a.m., I used 0.26 kilowatt hours. And so you'll see here as I go throughout the day, so as I go, say, and this is in Eastern time zone, so let's say I go, and this is the most recent data. So let's go down to, say, midday. You'll see that I'm now using a little bit more. So if you were to graph this, you would see that, okay, I'm getting my usage curves. And so this is a very easy way that you can produce graphs of energy usage from customers who shared your data. Okay. So this is a very quick way to download that. Now, so far I've just shown spreadsheets, right? And so far this has been entirely point and click. So you do not need to be able to program to use Green Button Connect using the Lakefront Utilities system. Okay. However, if you do know how to program, and we have a hackathon coming up on Saturday, you can use this in a completely automated fashion. Okay, so, oh, there's a question. It looks like, how could we overlay this with GridWatch? Yes, you could totally, since this is individual customer data, you could compare that against, say, grid level data and see how your usage compares with the grid. That's totally a thing that you can do with this interval data. Okay, so I'm gonna switch back to the utility interface, and I'm going to show some documentation. So if I am a programmer, I can download, I'm actually going to switch back to my dashboard. Okay, and I'm going to say, I want to see this interval data in JSON format. So JSON is a data format that a lot of app developers know how to do. So this is the information, that spreadsheet. This is that in a structured format called JSON. And so if you have a knowledge of how to pull in that data via JSON, you can use the API, which is the set of endpoints or set of URLs for the data. You can download that information in a JSON structured format. In addition to that, we have the standard green button XML format. So green button as a standard specifies an XML format where you have that data in a structured fashion as well. So here you have, the start and the duration. I guess I should probably zoom in. The start and the duration and the value and all of that sort of stuff. And so as the Ontario market spins up Green Button Connects, this is the standards compliant format that you'll be able to get through the Lakefront Utilities system. So you'll be able to very easily reuse, if you write a script or write a piece of software that can interpret this XML data, you'll be able to reuse that across all of the various Ontario implementations, including Lakefront. Okay. So that is an overview of how you actually get the data. I want to ask chat, has everybody been able to successfully download a spreadsheet of data? Has anybody run into any issues or had any problems? Take a drink of my coffee while I wait. Awesome. So this has been an overview of the Green Button Connect system at Lakefront. For the hackathon on Saturday, we will be encouraging people to actually do a full integration with the Green Button system, and I'll go into more technical details about that on Saturday. And so this workshop was mainly for a click around and learn yourself sort of process, and not necessarily for a software developer instructions thing. But yeah, it looks like we have a hand raised. Go ahead.
Daniel, Jonathan here from Sustainable Cobra. Great, clear instructions on how to use this data. Amazing stuff. I looked at my utility bill and I noticed that it has two things that you might want to comment on. Mm-hmm. One is subsidies from the government that are helping me offset my usage, my costs. And the other one is a comparison of my usage to usage in the neighborhood that I live in.
Gotcha. So any sort of cost information directly related to your bill will be included in the dataset fields under what are called the usage summaries. So that will be included. For information about other people or your comparison to other people, that is currently not part of the scope of the data that is shared. However, one of the things that you'll be able to do with this is, if you are an app developer and you want to have that sort of information, you can actually have people share your authorization link. You can have them share that with their neighbor and then pull in that information and compare it side by side. And so the link, the fact that you can just send this link to anybody and somebody can click on it and authorize, and the data set comes in a fully automated fashion. You don't need to pick up the phone. You don't need to send in a signed document. That's all digital authorization. The fact that it's all digitized allows you to basically seamlessly get other people to authorize, and then you'll be able to collect and compare that information.
Yeah, if I may, that's great, because the neighbor down the road has a Tesla. And I was telling him about the green button coming, and he said, well, will that cover everything in my house, my electricity, my gas, and my water? And I didn't have a direct answer, but I love this, because now I'll go to him tomorrow and say, hey, let's do this, and get him out, because he's a hands-on guy and wants to create a solar-powered greenhouse in our neighborhood.
Yeah, exactly. So what we have seen Green Button used for before, because of the ease of the data authorization and sharing process, you can actually just have it included in a newsletter, and then the people, so say a neighborhood newsletter, and then the people who want to participate can click on the green button, can share the data, and then all of that data you can compile into whatever sort of proposal, for example, a community greenhouse, that you would like to do. I would like to caveat something is that green button authorizations are for individual utilities. And so if you get your electric bill from one utility and you get your gas bill from another utility, you are going to need to authorize through both. So it's on a per utility basis. And so, which is usually fine because it's usually only like one or two, right? And so for it's on a, wherever you get your utility bill, that's where you're going to need to go and authorize using the green button.
So that's a great point. So for example, I guess my electricity would be with Lakefront Utility and my gas might be with Enbridge. And so I would need 2 approvals, correct?
Correct. Exactly. They will have in this portal, right? The green button is hosted on the Lakefront Utilities website. And so it's not hosted on the gas utilities website. And so there will be an equivalent one of these on the gas utility side.
Got it. That's good because most people will get frustrated if they go through this process and then learn, oh, now I have to go to another customer to get my other data. Good stuff.
Right. Yeah, so I'm happy to answer any additional questions. I wanted to check in and to make sure that have people been able to download spreadsheets, the line item spreadsheets of the billing data? Awesome. Looks like several people have. That's wonderful. So I'm going to turn it back over to the moderator. I guess, is that going to be Gary or is that going to be John?
I'll share my screen again.
Awesome. Thank you everybody for following along in this workshop.